We didn't plan to camp that night. It just sort of happened. My friends and I were on a road trip, the kind you take when you need to get away from everything. We were driving through the mountains when our car broke down on a stretch of road far from any town. There was no cell service and the sun was already setting, so we decided to set up camp in the woods nearby. None of us were prepared. No tents, no gear, just a couple of blankets, a few snacks, and a single flashlight between us. We figured we'd make do until morning when we could walk to the nearest town for help. We built a small fire using sticks and dried leaves and settled in for the night, trying to laugh off the situation. It wasn't so bad, I told myself. The night was clear, the stars were bright, and the fire was warm. But as the hours passed, that feeling of comfort slowly began to fade. The woods around us were too quiet, no crickets, no wind, just an oppressive silence that seemed to press in from all sides. It was around midnight when things started to feel wrong. We were sitting around the fire, talking in hushed voices, when Jake, the most skeptical of the group, suddenly went quiet. I noticed he was staring into the darkness beyond the firelight, his face pale. "Did you see that?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. "See what?" I asked, straining my eyes to see what he was looking at. "There, in the trees. I thought I saw someone, standing there." I glanced over, but all I saw was darkness. The firelight only reached so far, and beyond that was an impenetrable blackness. "Jake, don't mess around," Sarah said, her voice trembling slightly. She was always the first to get scared, and I could tell she was trying to hold it together. "I'm not messing around," Jake insisted. "There was someone there, I swear." We all turned our flashlights on, sweeping the beams through the trees, but there was nothing, just the empty woods. We tried to laugh it off, but the mood had shifted. The unease that had been creeping in all night was now palpable, like a heavy weight in the air. "I think we should stay close to the fire," I suggested, trying to sound casual. No one argued. We huddled closer together, the fire now our only source of comfort. The minutes ticked by slowly, each one feeling longer than the last. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves made us jump. Then we heard it, a soft rustling just outside the circle of light. We all froze, listening. It sounded like footsteps, slow and deliberate, moving through the underbrush. "Who's there?" Jake called out, his voice cracking. The footsteps stopped. For a moment, there was only silence. Then we heard it, a low, almost inaudible whisper, like someone was standing just behind us, breathing down our necks. It was too quiet to make out the words, but the tone was unmistakable, malicious, taunting. Sarah started to cry, trying to muffle her sobs. I felt my heart racing, every instinct telling me to run, but there was nowhere to go. We were surrounded by darkness, with no idea what was out there. "Stay close," I whispered, as if that would somehow protect us. That's when we saw it, a figure standing just at the edge of the firelight. It was tall and thin, with long limbs that seemed to blend into the shadows. Its face was obscured, but I could feel its eyes on us, watching, waiting. "Do you see it?" Jake whispered, his voice barely a breath. We all saw it. No one moved. No one dared to even breathe. The figure just stood there, motionless, as if it were part of the night itself. And then slowly it began to move, just a step closer, into the light. That's when I noticed its hands, or rather the lack of them. Where its hands should have been, there were only long, sharp points, like the ends of broken bones. It tilted its head, as if studying us, and then it took another step forward. That's when Sarah screamed. It was like the scream broke whatever spell we were under. Without thinking, we all bolted, running blindly into the woods, away from the figure. I don't know how long we ran, but by the time we stopped, we were lost, completely disoriented, with no idea how far we'd gone or in what direction. But the worst part was that the figure was still there. We could see it through the trees, always just at the edge of our vision, no matter where we turned. It didn't follow us, not exactly, but it was always there, waiting, watching. We spent the rest of the night like that, huddled together in the dark, too scared to move, too scared to sleep. The figure never got any closer, but it never went away. It was like it was playing with us, enjoying our fear. When dawn finally broke, the figure was gone, but the fear lingered. We found our way back to the road, but our car wouldn't start, as if whatever had been out there didn't want us to leave. We walked until we found help, but by then, something had changed in all of us. We don't talk about that night anymore. We don't talk at all, really. We went our separate ways, each trying to forget what happened. But I know none of us ever will. Sometimes, late at night, when I'm alone in my room, I think I see it again, a shadow at the edge of the light just outside my window. I try to tell myself it's just my imagination, but deep down, I know it's still there, waiting, and I know it will find me again.